Hey y'all, so I wanted to give you an update to my Deadeye, my Lightning Arrow Deadeye, now that I've finished the story all the way from Act 1 normal to Act 3 cool. Now, this build, I have to say, for the most part, has been extremely smooth. And the few places where I did have a little bit of difficulty on was really around my gear not being up to snuff. And usually that was fixed by me crafting a piece of gear or finding a piece of gear. And now in the late game, in the mapping process, I actually just went and bought a bow. So we'll go into that a little bit. But right now I am level 68, as you can see. And my resists and evasion and survivability and everything is really not there right now. But for the most part, I have been able to get through just fine by blasting my way through. But before I upgraded my weapons, every single time I would just be like dying left and right because everything would one-shot me. So it was kind of like a kill them before they killed me type of situation for the entirety of the campaign. Now that I'm endgame, I'm going to start working a little bit more on my defenses. But as you can see, we were able to make it through quite well without really taking a focus on our defenses. We really just kind of took whatever armors that we got as we leveled and just used them. Like this is an armor piece, this is an armor evasion piece, this is an armor evasion. We weren't really focusing on evasion at all because it just really wasn't needed. I was able to blast through everything without worrying, and being a ranged character also meant that monsters didn't really get that close to me. So the survivability piece was not as important, but I think it's going to be a little bit more important now that I'm in mapping. But before we go into kind of what I'm planning to do in the future, this is what my build currently looks like. So my skill tree is still the same for our ascendancy. We have not done our third ascendancy yet because I have not gotten a ultimatum fragment thing that lets me do the ascendancy for the next to get our next points, and I haven't gotten the other thing, like the sanctum thing. I forget what it's called. We haven't gotten a good enough one to get us to our next ascendancy either. So once we get that, we'll upgrade that and go down this way for Tailwind. I know a lot of people doing their Deadeye builds did go Tailwind first as opposed to going down my route. I don't think there's really that much of a difference in my opinion. I did like the additional projectiles for leveling. It was just a lot better for clear. But yeah, so again, our skill tree is largely similar, but I did do some edits on it ever since the last time I spoke to y'all. So first big change was, I mean, this is not the biggest change, but I did end up getting the 2 quiver nodes over here. I think that they're worth it. The 10%, they're 15% from here and here are pretty dang good, and quivers are pretty strong. So as long as you have a good quiver, this is very worth it. Now, for this, I also went down a little bit more on the shock side of things. I think I was doing some of this before, but I added more of a focus into the elemental damage areas. As you can see, I went down this way and grabbed some more elemental damage nodes and ailment nodes. I also took this node right here that was an increase to the amount of damage to enemies who are, who have ailments. I then went down here to go grab these elemental attack nodes and then down here to the shock. Now, one thing that you will notice is that I ended up speccing out of some of these crit nodes, and that at the end of the day was a decision that I made because I just looked at my crit rate and it really didn't look like we were scaling crit that well. So I ended up taking out some of these crit nodes and then going further down here for the elemental damage. But kind of like throughout the process of me doing this, one of the main reasons why I was kind of like lacking in damage wasn't because I wasn't scaling crit very well. From what I could tell, it really was just my gear. So, I don't think it was like the best decision to spec out of these, but I also don't think that early on the crit really works out for the ranger. You just don't have enough crit nodes to really scale crit where we're at here. So I think if I were to do this build again, I probably wouldn't spec into this area really, and then I would focus more on like elemental damage and making that sort of my main source of damage. I don't have a jewel here yet. Honestly, there's not really that many great jewels out there. I mean, there are, but you have to buy them. And I haven't really interacted with the market much yet. But my next steps right now, honestly, I might unspec out of these ones. I just don't think they're very useful for me right now. And I would spec more into these shock ones and probably head down this way into the attacks against rare or uniques, because that's really where I'd say most people have trouble in this game. Clearing packs is really not that big of an issue. It really is those rare or unique mobs that really bring trouble to people. So I'm probably going to go down this way and also, again, try to respec into crit, because I do think that endgame scaling crit probably is going to be pretty decent. And there's a lot of crit notes, like crit stuff we can get on our equipment. So we'll try to scale crit after I finish up with, like, you know, this stuff right here. Oh yeah, and another reason why I was thinking about respecking into crit after basically unspecking into it was because I was finding issues with shocking enemies. Now, when you shock an enemy, you do a significantly larger amount of damage. So I was trying to find a way to like get more shocks, but unfortunately, I thought that maybe these shock nodes that we're getting down here are enough. But at the end of the day, I think just critting always puts your element, like your ailment, onto the enemies, right? So just at the end of the day, doing the crit stuff, I think did contribute and help to the shock, which is why I kind of started respecking into it again. But this is my current tree again. I kind of have two ways to go. One way is going back into the crit, and the other way is going down here and then getting more into shock into the unique enemies damage. And I think both are pretty good. So I'm probably just going to end up doing both at the end of the day. But it's just about which one I go into first versus second. But yeah, so far this build has been very, very good. In terms of skills, we are still using Lightning Arrow and Lightning Rod as our main source of clear and damage. So just drop a Lightning Rod and shoot our Lightning Arrows out as our main source of damage. And then for single target, we are still doing Rain of Arrows. This is just so dang good for single target. It's actually insane. We still have Barrage. I'm still not entirely sure how useful this is, but right now we also added Sniper's Mark into our repertoire. That way we can get Frenzy Charges, actually get it, and start using the Barrage benefits of having Frenzy Charges, and that's been pretty good, though I kind of always forget to apply Sniper's Mark onto the enemy, so that isn't the best. But in terms of our gems, right now we have gotten quite a few Jeweler's Orbs, and we've gotten enough Jeweler Orbs to get our Rain of Arrows to be a 4 socket now. And I chose to do Rain of Arrows as a 4 socket before Lightning Arrow just because Rain of Arrows really is our main source of damage for a single target, and that is where, you know, most of these builds kind of struggle. So I'm scaling the damage of Rain of Arrows for that reason, and adding more sockets. And then since then, I think for the most part, my Lightning Arrow gems have been the same. Rain of Arrows is the same too, but I did add this elemental focus here. Herald of Thunder is still the same. Lightning Rod, I think I might have added this extra slot for lightning exposure. And then Freezing Salvo, we're doing Hourglass and Magnified Effect. Honestly, it's kind of rough that we can't use Conk Effect, because I would like to use Conk Effect on Freezing Salvo as well, but our main source of damage is Rain of Arrows, so we're going to keep it on that. Since then, I also added Combat Frenzy. Again, this is only really useful if I am electrocuting or freezing enemies. And to be honest, I'm really not doing that. So I'm thinking of taking this off right now and maybe adding another aura or another buff. We'll see what it is, because personally, I just don't do any of these. I don't freeze, I don't electrocute, or I don't pin. So we'll have to see what we end up doing that. We might just add more support gems into our 2 auras, again, for Herald of Thunder and also Wind Dancer. These still continue to be pretty dang useful, so we're going to do that and continue to do that. Sniper's Mark, we have Persistence and Perfusion. I do have more orbs, like Jeweler's Orbs. I have 5 of them, so I can use them. But personally, I can't really think of too many support gems to put in some of these skills. I need to look into it a little bit more and see what we have. But for now, this has been working really well. But one thing to note is that, as I mentioned earlier, getting into maps, my survivability has been a little bit low. We have been getting one shot by pretty much anything that has touched us with anything like bigger than a small hit. Even like white mobs do like half our health when we take hit. So again, we're gonna try to increase our survivability with our equipment, which we'll go into now. This is the weapon that I recently bought. I just bought this for like 1x. It's really not that amazing, but it's pretty good for where I am right now, and was a significant increase over what I had before, which I didn't change for like since beginning of Act 2. Our helmet is absolute garbage. We need to increase this. Again, we have really bad resists. So my hope is to try to get more resist and more health on everything, because our survivability is very, very low. And start maybe moving into just pure evasion gear. So helmet's really bad. Chest is also really bad. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is mana regen is still a problem. So I've been putting mana regen stones onto things, which I don't think is the best way to do it. Honestly, I think probably continue to find ways to get mana on kill is the best, because right now we don't do much physical damage, right? So this physical damage leached as mana is just not very good, and I just don't see it ever being a very good solution. So it's either A, scaling more mana regen, or B, getting some more mana on kill, which is not going to be useful against bosses, right? So we still need to kind of figure out how we're going to fix that problem. But again, chest, not that great either. Rings are not that great. This is basically the same ring we had since like before Cruel. I found this also not great. We need to upgrade both of these. My necklace is still the same as last time. I think I did upgrade the quiver since last time, and it's been pretty hard to replace this because the +1 proj plus the flat damage is really nice. I would like to have a better quiver base ideally, but this is what we have right now, so we're going to keep using it. I could again try to buy some stuff, but we'll see. Whenever I need to use that, I'll buy it. I'm pretty kind of been trying to do solo self-pound-ish as we've gone through, but at times I think it would probably just be a bit smarter to buy things. Belt, not that great either, just a lot of life, no resists. Gloves, again, not that great, a lot of life. And boots, same one as last time, pretty decent resist, but no life at all, so we're gonna have to upgrade these soon as well. It's on armor base, so yeah, something I need to focus on as well is adding more of these rune slots to these gears, because I haven't been doing that. Something that I haven't really been focusing on was grabbing the socketed items and going to the salvage bench and getting rid of them, so I can get more of the artificer's orbs, these ones. So that's something I should have done while leveling up, so I could have gotten more sockets, but it is what it is. But yeah, this build is pretty dang good. I would say it's probably not the best Deadeye build out there. There's probably people who have better builds, but it's working for me, and I really like using Lightning Arrow just because it's fast and easy. I know that, I think his name's Fub Gun, has a really good lightning build as well for Deadeye, but it's for lightning salvo. So I've still stuck with this Lightning Arrow build instead of swapping over to Lightning Salvo, because I just think it's faster and smoother. So there is that. So if you're looking for a lightning arrow build, I think the one that I have right now is pretty solid. It's not going to be perfect. As I mentioned before, we're all still learning. We're all still trying to make the builds as good as they can. I'm probably going to play with this and try to get deeper into maps, and at some point I'll probably swap to another character and try a new build. I'm thinking of maybe trying to cook up some sort of Chronomancer build, because that seems to be a really underplayed class. Either that or maybe a warrior build, so we'll have to see. But yeah, that's the build. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Maybe I'll add like a Mobalytics kind of building thing down below if I have some time, but that'll be added later if anything. So yep, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, if you enjoyed it, please, the best way to support is hit the sub button. And I stream every single night at twitch.tv/MisoXShiru starting at 10 p.m. PST. So I'd love to see you guys there, but if not, hopefully I'll see you all on the next video. All right, guys, peace out.